My name is Coltrane, and what I'm going to be talking about today is influencer marketing. And it's something that is very near and dear to my heart. You know, when I started the agency 12 years ago, you have to find a key point of differentiation in the space. And I knew that influence was something that, most big agencies actually don't know what they're doing in the space, and it created a really big opportunity. A little bit about my history. New York City kid, Brooklyn. I don't know if anybody is from Brooklyn, it should be. Went to Berkeley, Cairos, finished high school in Montclair, New Jersey, went to Morehouse College in Atlanta, Georgia, and then I left and I worked for my dad's ad company in New York City for literally, it lasted like 3 days. That serial entrepreneurial spirit runs deep in the household, which means I couldn't work for anybody. And then what I really got was my first job, which was at a company called Echo Unlimited. I was the 7th employee, and I watched the company grow from like 10 million a whole to $1 billion. I probably got fired 5 or 6 times from that brand. But one of the places that I wound up was a company that they had called Complex. I was one of the first editors at large of Complex. And then when Complex, got rid of me, I got an opportunity to be a VJ for MTV. I went to VJ camp. I knew fashion. I knew style. I could interview celebrities on red carpets. I was super hyped. I did the TRL awards, the VMAs, you name it. And literally, when I got really good at it, I quit. And I sold my house in Montclair, New Jersey, and I spent $40,000 on my wife's engagement ring, and I put the other 40 on my company. And I'm standing here in front of you today with about 80 people that work for me, an office in Portland, and we're doing all right, right? You never want to say you're doing well in New York City, because New York City is literally the cost of doing business in New York City is the cost to put you out of business. So you never want to say you're doing well, but I think we do well because what we understand is that key thing that Team Epiphany is about. What is our mojo? And that's really about influencer marketing. And today I really want to talk to you about, marketing as a force of nature. When you think about, marketing and all the things that we could do from digital to social, event production and all this kind of stuff, I think the beginning of it starts for us at influencer marketing. And we believe it's the most powerful marketing tool that you can have in your toolbox. So the first piece that I want to kind of get into is, just an introduction into my shop and what we do. We do strategy, we do event production, social, talent, and then I like to say new to world PR. But when you think about talent, what's really special about the way we think about it is, most think about talent is like who I'm hiring, my celebrity, and what we like to say to our clients and we like to prove to them is the fact that we believe that influence and influencers are more powerful than celebrities are and ever will be. And it's a huge statement to go into big brands and saying that when everybody knows that Kim Kardashian got, I think, 50 million followers on Instagram the other day, right? So it's kind of hard to kind of fight that, but I think what we've done is we've created an environment where we can actually prove it and it's no longer a hypothesis. So for us, our business took off in 2008, and Twitter took off at the same time, and we were putting hashtags on walls. Clients were freaking out because we weren't giving kids directions on how to use the hashtag. This was just the way in which we were able to communicate. But what it allowed us to do is be able to prove the power of word of mouth. And it was big because the only way you can prove if your event was working was because of a press impression. And then the only reason why you were able to get that press impression is because you had a celebrity. So I understood why, big brands always wanted to go back to celebrities because it was rather easy. But what you were losing in those impressions were your brand messaging and what you were trying to do, right? So it was more about the celebrity, not about the brand. And what we are saying is that the network that can actually create celebrity is actually more powerful, more efficient than the actual celebrity. Because if you're really talking to the network that can create celebrity, you're going to talk to the celebrity because they're part of that network anyway. So what we were able to really do is work with huge brands. I mean, everybody from Heineken, Moet and Hennessy, Cadillac, Nike, you name it. We have a bunch of big brands, but what we really always come back to is the epicenter of what we do extremely well. And when we use influencer marketing, we like to utilize 3 different terms. Amplify, which we believe is kind of like, if you just got a BA degree from college, that's the way we like to look at influence, and I think that's the way most people look at it. Then we look at it from a talent perspective. What if we were to use influencers as talent? And if you're going to equate that to kind of like a college degree, maybe that's your master's. And I think, most agencies aren't even playing in that space. And then we like to take it to a third level, which is insight generated. And that's kind of like your PhD level. So I'll take a couple steps back to talk about amplify. You create a product. Here's a bottle of water. I give this to a person. They have a whole bunch of social media followers. They amplify. I take a look at how many impressions I get on it, and that's a KPI for me. And that's generally the way most brands utilize influence. It's like, here's something, now go do something, and it's an amplifier, which is great because we do it, it's cool, it's another kind of key performance indicator other than a press hit in a magazine or a website. So that works. The other piece that we really like to utilize at Team Epiphany is talent. Now, what if you're able to utilize influencers as talent? That's where the real gem happens, because that's where you start getting your engagement with consumers, because you're really identifying somebody that has already having a conversation with a community that we want to belong to as a brand and utilizing them to tell a brand story on the brand's behest. So that's one of the key ways that we utilize talent at Team Epiphany. But the real PhD 3.0 kind of, George Jetson futuristic kind of way to utilize influence is kind of really obvious, but I don't understand why most agencies and brands don't do it. And I think the reason why is because they're not tethered and connected to an influencer community. And that's basically an insights generator. Influencers are people who are experts about something and belong to a community, right? You can't be an influencer and not be an expert. So what we like to utilize influencers for is to actually help us solve a brand's challenge. But you can only do that if you're connected to that individual and you actually know them and you know what they're interested in. And that's the piece that's big. So what we can do is create rooms of influential people who are experts about a particular topic, and then really help build the solution and the strategy for the clients that we work for, hand in hand with the experts. And that's the way in which the future of influencer marketing is actually going to work. And it's not something that everybody can do, and it's one of the key things or the reason why Team Epiphany is a force in the marketing game now. And then throughout this presentation, you'll see kind of like force of nature, but you'll also see some people that pop up in the space. So you probably saw an image of Vashti, who was the only woman to ever design her Air Jordan, and she's now video director extraordinaire. And we tap Vashti for a lot of things, but we know her. So therefore, we understand what she's truly interested in, because most times influencers get paid at something that they're good at, but something that they're not super passionate about. But if you go dig a little bit deeper, you'll find their passion. The other guy you'll see is a guy named John Buscemi, who has the #1 selling shoe at Bergdorf's, Barney's, and Bloomingdale's globally. He's the guy that actually deconstructed the Birkin bag and actually made a footwear kind of offering from him. And I think that the shoes go for $7,000 to about $2,000 a pop. So it's great to be able to know that I can create a product with John Buscemi, but how about if we're able to actually utilize him to help create a strategy for a brand? And then you'll see a couple other books like High Snobiety and Hypebeast that kind of speak to us as a brand. So the next slide that I want to kind of go to is defining influence and really proving the fact that celebrity is not influential. And trust me, it's a scary place to sit in front of a room and asking people for millions of dollars and asking them to kind of take a step back and be like, guess what? Kim Kardashian or Kanye West is not influential. It's kind of a hard fight, right? But when you really go back and you start thinking about, hey, well, the cost for engagement for those people are so high, how can I have a conversation with them without actually paying them the big dollars? And then also making it a little bit more manageable. So what we like to talk about is the community, where they come from. We believe that influencers create energy. And just like any energy that they create, celebrities amplify and consume that energy. And I think that's the reason why I quit MTV. Because it was like, how many times can I be asked what Paris Hilton is wearing, right? I was like going stir crazy. It was like, you see her at one award show, she's got something on, the next award show, she's got something on, but you truly know that she has no clue what she has on. She doesn't know where she got it, when she got it, how much it cost, and because the reality is, there's a team around her who are experts about fashion, about writing, about photography, about her brand, and those are the people that are truly talented. So that's kind of the space where we want to play in. We want to dissect the celebrity and take a look at what makes them tick, and let's market to all of and include all the other people that's surrounding her into our marketing mix, so then when we activate them, it's organic, it's piecemeal, but the pieces add up to a whole, and guess what? If she's trusted by her team, or if the talent trusts their team, guess what? The talent is going to be susceptible, or the likelihood is that they're going to engage with the brand because their entry point was already somebody that they already trust. So when we're really talking about influence, we're talking about trust. And then the other piece that I wanted to kind of really talk about were some of the other people that you see here. So you'll see a guy that pops up, his name would be Virgil Abloh. And most people are like, hey, you can't do anything with Kanye. He's unmanageable. Okay, yeah, he is, no question. That's the reason why he's Kanye West, right? But you want to be able to do things with him. So again, it's more about his network. So I always talk about Kanye, and I'm more passionate about his team than I am the actual artist. So I don't know if anybody saw the Yeezus tour or kind of like really gets an opportunity to see what a Kanye tour or Yeezus show looks like. Well, guess what? One of the people on his team is an architect. His name is Virgil. And that's the person that actually creates what shows look like for Kanye. So why do I want to go to Kanye and talk about like, hey, well, let's do this and let's integrate some brands here? No, you go to Kanye. Or if you're talking about the person that got him all of his internships at Fendi, it's his manager. His name is Don C., who also has a collaboration deal with Jordan. So if I want to do something through fashion, guess what? That's the guy that I want to go to. Or if I want to figure out what Kanye is going to be wearing, or maybe I want to tap into his stylist, then I'll touch his stylist at Iben, who also has another fashion brand. But that's the way that you go around it. So it's pretty interesting to really be able to see what we can do with influencers and the type of brands that we're utilizing influencer marketing for. And some of the other guys that you'll see here kind of like pop up, other than the gallivanting pachyderms. You get a guy named Nick Wooster, or you get somebody like Eugene Tong, or you get guys like the public school boys, Dow and Max, who are now the creative directors of DKNY. Well, before then, they were struggling brands, and they were really trying to get their brand off the ground. But the reality is they belong to a community of influence. And it's impossible to activate a community unless you belong to that community. So it's always interesting when I go into meetings and there's like, this super high-powered PR agency that's like, I got it. Influencer marketing, we know everyone, and we're just going to plug you with this person, and we'll have this celebrity, and you come to the day you go to execute it, and none of that stuff happens. Well, it's because they're not supposed to be connected to the new world of communications, because they represent the actual old regime of amplification, which is celebrity, which is print, which is weeklies, which is celebrity. And there's a really core piece that I want you guys to really get. So this one is more about respecting and recruiting of influencers. And I think, in life, you get the best relationships are symbiotic. It's when you kind of like give and take. It's kind of like the yin and yang of life. And I think when you really think about collaboration or equity bartering, you think about two people on either side of the equation getting exactly what they need. And sometimes dollars don't necessarily have to kind of switch hands. And that's the reason why I really like influencer marketing, because you can do it, and if you do it and you're really good at it, you don't really have to spend any money, because sometimes the dollars are what holds up the marketing mix with big brands. So when you start thinking about relationships that are 1-to-1 and 1-to-2, best influencer relationships are those that are kind of 1-to-2. So I'll take myself as an example. I'll be 40 next month. I have 1,500 pair of sneakers at home. I have that's kind of like why people think I'm cool. I have a lot of sneakers, a lot of clothes, and but most people on the surface Google search me, and that's kind of what comes up. Coltrane Curtis' sneaker collection. I think I'm a little deeper than my sneakers, right? I do like sneakers. It's a good kind of like conversation starter. But the reality is I do a lot of different things, right? I'm a dad. I love my son. He's going to be 4 next month, and I would probably say I'm a little bit more influential in the kid space, because I can tell you what stroller you should get. Like, I'm a big fan of the Upper Baby. Don't like the Bugaboo, right? But you wouldn't think I knew that unless you really knew Coltrane and what really drove me, right? So I think it's about respect, about understanding what that influencer wants to do in their life, and how to really allow them to do what they're great at. Because the reality is, they're probably not doing what they like to do. That's just how they make money. You always talk about, my dad always told me, it's like, your job allows you to live, and your hustle allows you to be the person that you want to be. And it's more important to market towards the destination or the aspiration where an influencer wants to go versus where they currently are. And that's one of the key things that I wanted to kind of nail home today. The other thing is about like the dollars exchanging hands. One thing that you would really think about is, I got to pay influencers a lot of money. Sometimes, but they get a lot of things from big brands. One, they get a cosign. So the biggest kind of, the kryptonite to influencers is the fact that they don't know business. Well, the reality is if you give an influencer the first time to actually work with a big brand, it's a case study that this person is now safe to do business, right? So it's like it's a personally proven business relationship that you now have with that individual. They will work with you because now you're said and you've gave them the cosign that says, hey, big brands can do business with this individual, so it now makes them a little bit sexier for the next brand that wants to work with them. So when you really think about having to pay influence, sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. One of the other points that I wanted to talk about is the fact that you give them an opportunity to be introduced to the brand. So maybe the next time that they needed a spirit partner and they did something, pro bono for that brand, the next time that they had an event or a website launch or a product launch, that they can now work with that brand. So again, the connectivity is kind of what we're really looking for. And then going back to the symbiotic yin-yang relationship, while you're working with the influencers on this side, the brands are also winning. And what they're really getting is cultural connectivity in the most organic way. And that's something that influencers can do for brands, which is telling their brand story, but in their own words, which makes it a lot more organic, which makes it a lot more believable, and gives you the target penetration that you're actually looking for. So that's that slide. So we're going to go to the last piece because I see the clock ticking down. And I would be remiss if I didn't show you some work, right? Talking a lot of smack, but you haven't seen anything, right? So I wanted to show you some of the work that we've actually done and how we utilize the influencer community to do it. The first piece that's going to pop up here is a brand called Hypnotic. I don't know if anybody's 40 years old and loves hip-hop music like me, but back in the day, Hypnotic and some Hennessy was the lick, right? And we got the opportunity to work with a brand called Hypnotic. It's owned by a company called Heaven Hill in Louisville, Kentucky, and they gave us the opportunity to actually relaunch their brand. This is some of the creative. But what we really identified is that the target really has an understanding and a love for art. So we really utilized an artist that we crowdsourced and found this guy named Natural who was able to create the VC. He's an influencer of sorts because he's this graphic artist. He lives in Virginia, but we really tapped in the fact that young, urban, hip-hop kids really gravitate to him. So what do? We didn't ask him to show up to an event, sign some autographs. We gave him an opportunity of a lifetime. So that's one of the ways in which you can really work with influencers is identify their talent and bring them an opportunity that they wouldn't be able to create on their own. The other big one for us is the blueprint on how to really engage with big brands is the Heineken 100 program, where we basically take Heineken iconography, pair it with global iconic streetwear and sportswear brands to create a product. And then with that product, we identify their most 100 influentials and then seed that products over a series over the course of the year. What that did for us, it allowed the brand to actually show up in places like GQ, in Details, in Hypebeast, a place where there are no other beer brands. So you can have a Corona and find your beach, or you can believe that Stella actually makes a good beer, but they won't be in the same space, in the same environment that we are, because we created it, but it was influencer curated and influencer generated. The other brand that I wanted to kind of talk to you guys about is also is a Cadillac and a public school collaboration. So the two guys that I showed you earlier, Dow and Max, they were simply looking for a partner to help them pay for a runway show. Secretly, do they know that it was mostly a lesson on both brand and collaborator to really talk about the difference between sponsorship and partnership. We don't believe in sponsorship, we believe in partnership. And after that one show, when Anna Wintour showed up in a Cadillac, and Bloomberg wrote, did you ever thought you would see the name Cadillac and Anna Wintour in the same sentence? Cadillac had a partner because public school was able to take them to a place that they've never been before, which was put Anna Wintour in a vehicle. And what we were able to do is, again, give public school an opportunity that no other brand in the world has ever had. We've made them the face of the new Cadillac XT5 vehicle, which is the #1 selling Cadillac, which is crazy because you always think it's the Escalade, right? It's this car called the XT5. And then we actually had the boys from public school design a collection based off the vehicle, a 45-piece collection. So normally you would seed it, normally you would gift it, sometimes you retail it. This is what we decided to do is take the brand and our collaborator to a place that they've never been before. And in early November this year, we're taking 180 editors, celebrities, influencers, and bloggers to Dubai to actually launch this collaboration between the two brands. So when you really think about the power of influence, it starts very small, but it can be very big, but it comes from a place of trust and respect. Respect for the brand, respect for the influencer, and knowing where both of those brands actually want to be able to go, so you can create that opportunity that nails both brands' kind of marketing initiatives. And I think that's about all I have for you today. I think one of the things I wanted to close with is influence was our thing. And I think you know, it's very easy in this day and age to kind of create a Me Too kind of proposition, a Me Too company. Hey, they're doing really well over here. Let's go do some of the same thing that they're doing. It's really not sustainable. And there's always going to be somebody that's going to be better at it if they've been doing it before you. And I think what we've been able to do at the agency is identify who we truly are and really create a business model around it. Now, you know, it's taken 12 years. You know, but I was able to do it slow and steady, and understanding that, you know, when we started and, you know, an influencer marketing company after I quit my job being a VJ and being on TV at MTV, everyone thought I was crazy. You know, then 2008 came along and we were able to actually, you know, put the data and the science behind the metrics and identifying engagement for us, utilizing influence. It's something that you know, when you come in my office, I'm not the only influencer there. I'm probably the least influential because I'm the oldest person at 40 next month, and they let me know every day. But we found something that was truly different. We found something that was ownable, and we built that business. And I just really challenge anybody that does their own thing to just make sure you do it a little bit differently, and you know, you'll get the opportunities that we have. So thank you very much for your time. And yeah, remember influencer marketing. Thank you.